Let's dive into Chapter 14 of A Game of Thrones, and this one is from the perspective of Catelyn Stark. So far in the story, Catelyn has been staying by her son Bran's bedside ever since he fell from that tower. Lord Eddard, Ned Stark, has already left Winterfell with his daughters Sansa and Arya, headed south to take up his role as Hand of the King. Robb, the oldest Stark boy still at home, is trying to take on responsibilities in his father's absence, but Catelyn has completely withdrawn from everything, fully consumed by Bran's condition. In this chapter, we get deep into Catelyn's mind, her pain, her suspicions, and a shocking moment that changes everything for her, for Winterfell, and possibly for the whole realm. Maester Luwin came to visit Catelyn in Bran's sick room, carrying books of accounts. He tried to talk to her about how much the royal visit had cost them, food, supplies, appointments, but she wasn't having it. She didn't care about money or duties or stables or guards. Her son was lying there, unmoving. That's all that mattered to her. When Luwin pushed the conversation further, bringing up the need for a new captain of the guard and a master of horse, Catelyn exploded. She lashed out emotionally, shouting that she'd gladly slaughter every horse in Winterfell if it meant Bran would wake up. Her pain was overflowing. That's when Robb stepped in. He had entered quietly, but his presence felt suddenly adult. Catelyn noticed, for the first time, how much he looked like Ned. He told Maester Luwin he'd look over the list of names later. Luwin handed it off and left, and Robb confronted his mother. He asked her what she was doing, not just watching Bran, but shutting herself away completely. She hadn't even come to say goodbye when Ned and the girls left. Catelyn snapped back, defending herself. How could she leave Bran? What if he needed her and she wasn't there? What if he died and she wasn't there to hold his hand? But Robb pressed harder. He reminded her that Rickon, their youngest, was only 3 and confused and scared, following Robb around crying. Robb admitted that he needed her too. He was just a boy trying to handle too much. And that hit Catelyn. She saw just how overwhelmed Robb was. He was still a child himself. As they spoke, direwolves began to howl outside. Robb opened the window so Bran could hear them. He named the wolves, Shaggy Dog, Grey Wind, and said you could tell them apart if you listened close. But the sound of the howling broke Catelyn. She started shaking, crying, covering her ears. She begged Robb to make them stop, even screamed that they should be killed if that's what it took. The grief was crushing her. Robb held her, told her not to be afraid, helped her lie down and tried to get her to sleep. But she couldn't. She was terrified that Bran might die while she slept. Suddenly, Robb heard something else, barking. Not wolves now, but dogs. All the dogs in Winterfell. Then he noticed the light. Fire. He ran to check and saw it. The library tower was burning. Robb ran off to help, leaving Catelyn alone with Bran. She felt relief that the fire was far from them. She even went to the window, whispered thanks to the gods, but when she turned back around, there was a man in the room. He was small, filthy, stinking of horses, and holding a dagger. Catelyn didn't recognize him. He wasn't from their stables. He muttered something, that she wasn't supposed to be there, and said killing Bran was a mercy. Catelyn tried to scream, but he grabbed her, put the dagger to her throat. She fought him, grabbed the blade with her bare hands. Blood poured from her fingers, but she wouldn't let go. She bit his hand. He finally dropped her and stood over her, dagger still in hand. But then, Bran's direwolf appeared. With a flash of teeth, the wolf leapt onto the man, bit deep into his throat, and killed him instantly. Catelyn looked up at the wolf, covered in blood. It walked over to her, licked the blood from her hand, then curled up next to Bran like a protector. Robb, Luwin, and Sir Roderick rushed in moments later to find her laughing hysterically. She had snapped from the trauma. They helped her to her room, bathed her, cleaned her wounds, gave her milk of the poppy to help her sleep. She slept for 4 days. When she woke up, she was clear-headed. She was ashamed of how she'd fallen apart, but now she was resolved. She was a Tully of Riverrun, and she was ready to act. Robb came in with Sir Roderick, Theon Greyjoy, and the new captain of the guard, Hallis Mollen. They told her what they'd found. The dead man had been hiding in the stables with 90 silver stags. A lot of money for someone like him. They didn't know who he was, but Catelyn figured it out fast. Someone sent him to kill Bran. He set the fire as a distraction, hoping everyone would leave the tower. But she stayed. She ruined the plan by being too broken with grief to leave Bran's side. Robb asked the key question. Why would anyone want to kill a sleeping child? Catelyn looked at him. Answer your own question. And he did. Someone's afraid Bran might wake up, afraid of what he saw. Exactly. Sir Roderick then brought up the dagger. It wasn't some random blade. It was Valyrian steel with a dragon bone hilt, far too rare and valuable for a random thug. Someone gave it to him.
Catelyn had heard enough. She made everyone swear to secrecy and then shared her biggest suspicion. Her sister Lysa believed that the Lannisters killed her husband, Lord Arryn, and now Catelyn believes Bran didn't fall. He was pushed. It all pointed to Jaime Lannister, who did not join the hunt the day Bran fell, who stayed behind in the castle. Everyone was shocked. Roderick couldn't believe it. Theon wasn't so sure. But Catelyn knew. The Lannisters were behind this. Robb was furious, ready to ride south and kill Jaime himself. Sir Roderick scolded him. Never draw your sword unless you're ready to use it. Catelyn looked around the room and knew what had to be done. Someone had to go to King's Landing. To warn Ned, to uncover the truth. She decided she would go herself. Everyone tried to talk her out of it, especially Robb, but she reminded him. He told her she had other children to protect. Bran was in the gods' hands now. She chose Sir Roderick to go with her. They would ride fast, hire a ship at White Harbour, and sail to King's Landing before Ned even arrived. Because now, it was no longer just about Bran. It was about the truth, the danger, and the war that might be coming. So that's how this chapter ends, with Catelyn Stark rising from her grief, her wounds still fresh, and setting out on a dangerous mission to uncover the truth behind the attack on her son. If you're enjoying the journey through Game of Thrones, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell icon so you never miss a chapter. And hey, if you haven't already, go check out the previous episodes to catch up on the full story.